What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French. This is the French Workbench podcast here on Tuesday. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are waiting in the waiting room, this is the most real behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs going on here in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Dan French, streaming live with a full studio of people here in studio. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody like I always do, right? So let's go ahead and introduce Mr. Rick Rains. What's going on, buddy? How are you today?
Hey, good evening, Las Vegas. I'm excited. We got a great show, a great guest tonight. We've got Jaime. If you guys ever need to know anything about wood, you need to get taught about wood. If you want to have something wood made, this is the lady that you need to go to. She is #1 on the West Coast, and I'm getting pumped up to hear what she's got to say.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. We also have our guest of honor here. Her name is Jaime, and what it is, I'm going to go across the room here and introduce everybody. But Jaime, I want to appreciate you coming on to the show, and thank you so much. Yeah. Woo! Jaime's an entrepreneur, and we're going to get into detail about what she's about, and also really just being an entrepreneur going, pre-COVID, now post-COVID, and then what she does and how she enjoys living in Las Vegas and what she thinks about the Las Vegas housing market, right? So let's get into the show today. We're going to talk a lot about real estate financing like we always do, but we're going to talk with our guest of honor here about her being an entrepreneur. But I want to tell you guys, again, thank you so much. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so please show support. If you have any comments during the show, you can make any comments and we'll answer them. And let's get right into it. The big problem I see out there with people and entrepreneurs is that you look at them and they're not recovered. Some of them are still trying to recover. Some of them close their business altogether. And so, they had some help from government in some ways, and some of them really just kind of
reinvented themselves.
They reinvented themselves or grinded it out. And then you have people like her where she's gone through the whole process and it seems like she's thriving. So let's go back to you here for a second. And I want to go ahead and turn that off. So first off, Jaime, what do you do? And tell us about your situation as far as coming to Las Vegas. Like, how did you get here, and how did you start in Las Vegas? Were you born here? How did that work?
No, I grew up in LA, and okay. I moved here 2004 when housing market was just starting to really ramp up.
What brought you here?
I was with somebody that got a job here, and
gotcha.
I'm like, okay.
Story of minis.
Yeah.
But
you know what? I'd lived in the Midwest for a good middle portion of my life,
okay.
And I don't like the Midwest.
Yeah, I'm from the Midwest. I 100% agree with you.
And you know what was killing me, though, there is, because I build furniture,
yeah.
Nobody back there understands
custom
furniture.
I know.
It's the Walmart mentality.
I know.
And I hate to put it that way, but
I know.
It's true.
Menards.
Yeah. So right. I had to get to a place where there were people with
Same reason I came out here.
Same
reason I came out here.
But I moved here and opened up a school, and honestly, if I could clone myself, I could teach, 24/7.
Yeah.
So it's a woodworking school?
It is. Yeah. Teach people how to build furniture.
What's the name of it?
Who are you connected with through the school?
Well, I'm actually connected with 3 different places. I teach for CSN and UNLV, and then I also, this is my favorite part, but I teach like drug offenders on Thursday nights.
Wow.
With the Clark County court system, and those guys are the best.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really great.
What really amazing.
Got you into that? That's
there was a policewoman who took my class, and she said, "Hey, I work with this judge in town who."
Your wood thing?
Yeah,
class?
she took my woodworking class.
Oh, okay.
And she said, you would be great teaching the kids that we have that we're trying to rehabilitate.
Right.
So
give them opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what? I love them.
Give them something in their life.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. This is a really sad story, but a few years ago, it was Memorial Day. We had a class on a Monday. And I said, hey, you guys, it's Memorial Day next week. Should we cancel class so you guys can do picnics with your family? And they looked at me like, what's a picnic?
Wow.
And it was kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so I went and I bought a little grill and bought some food.
We did
a picnic
That's
at
cool.
the wood shop.
Yeah.
And this one kid who was kind of a scary kid. I mean, he had a really bad past.
Yeah.
He came up to me and he's like, this is the best day of my life.
Oh.
I mean, you think about that, man. It's like things that most of us will take for granted and just skip over.
Right.
They've never had in their life. And it makes you really,
and it gives them vision, though.
It
gives them vision and experience.
Lets them know someone cares.
What else can happen? What else can I create in my life that I've never experienced or seen in even my thoughts before?
You need to be taking one of my classes.
Hey,
serious.
everybody needs to
All
take
right.
one of Jamie's classes.
I got to tell you that when you come to my school, it's not really about woodworking as much as it is connecting with people and
Yeah.
being creative and
Developing.
finding a community.
Yeah.
It's really that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that everything though? I mean, honestly, you
Everybody
build a
wants to feel like
business,
they
it's
belong.
Still community. It's still
Everybody wants to be able to
culture.
connect with humans.
I
I mean,
have a
that's
question.
it's what we need to do.
It's
you know?
a common
Agreed.
goal.
So
Yeah.
I have a question. One is, how long have you been teaching? And number two, what size of a school and how many students do you teach at any one time? And how many classes are there?
Well,
Jeez, Rick.
Geez, Rick, I could
just-
load
it
it.
just all go
One at a
together.
time,
I'm just kidding, man.
So I've been teaching since '94.
All right.
Started teaching in '94. You know what? A friend of mine, I live back in Ohio, and a friend of mine called me and said, "Do you know somebody that could teach some adult ed classes for us at the University of Akron?" And I said, "I can do it." And I sucked in the beginning. I just didn't know what I was doing. And but I got better and better and better and better. And so I was there teaching for 10 years, and then I'm like, the school thing is just crazy here, but I can't sell furniture in Ohio. The economy was just awful.
Yeah, no,
It's awful.
I get it. I know.
So how many kids, how many students at any one time?
10 at a time, and usually I'm 3-4 nights a week, so I've got 30, 40, 50 people in my school.
Wow.
So it's
during
pretty
the
much
week.
almost a one-on-one type of thing. So that's really cool.
Well, you know what? I keep it small because I want to keep it intimate
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
and safe.
Yeah.
You know, look, if you guys have a screw up in your profession, somebody gets a paper cut,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
If I have a screw up, you know,
Oh, there goes your hand and finger.
So here's something
I'm sure you can get it back
gives you
over
an,
there.
that gives you an idea just
some ice.
how good Jamie is. She's got all her fingers.
There you go.
That's how good she is.
Let me see those scars. Okay, cool.
Still a celebration on that.
right.
My gosh. Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Your students that come in, do you require any sort of background?
I'll tell you, I prefer that they don't have any, honestly,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
when, you know, and it's mostly the middle-aged men. Sorry, Rick.
Oh, she called me middle.
That was
Wasn't
so
that
nice.
nice?
Oh, Rick,
That was
Rick's
so
middle-aged over
very
here.
got
sweet.
love
Come in
going
and
on
they
over
go,
here.
I already know what I'm doing. I don't need to take the
She knows
beginning
how to
class.
work it.
And
When the male Karens walk in,
Hey, listen.
let's face it.
Listen, I'm gonna fess up in that I've known Jamie for a number of years, and I've taken a few of her classes, so I know what's going on. And believe me, when she says that these guys come in and they think that they know what they're doing, I watched one guy try and cut his finger off. Was it 2 or 3 times?
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
He went full out of trying to cut his fingers off. That's just the type
Wow.
of
Which is
people-
always why you give me a bottle of booze at Christmas time, right?
yeah, always.
As
Just
long
so I
as it's
can-
bourbon, we're good.
Right.
Need a little extra kick in that.
You know, it's a
Yeah.
scary profession. There's no way around it. But I would rather have somebody like you that's maybe never taken a class, because
Interesting.
I can teach you the right way to do
Yeah.
it. But when people come in with bad habits,
Yeah.
it's so hard to retrain.
It's like that in a lot of professions. Same thing in real estate. I don't
You
want to
know,
hire
it's
somebody who's
true.
been doing it for years because they come in with their own bad habits.
It's
and then-
easier for me to work in consulting.
Yeah.
It's easier somebody that's brand new, that's
Yeah.
just kind of
I would
launching.
love to come, but I'm not allowed near sharp objects.
Oh, yes, you would.
Yes,
Yeah.
you would.
Hey,
And I,
You know,
look, I gotta
she
tell you,
admits
Yeah.
it.
here's a funny story,
It
though.
is.
One time I was
I'm
teaching a
trying to
class, and
keep
it was
on my
really weird, but
fingers.
there were 9 women in this class and 1 guy. And one of the women came up to me and she said, I don't understand it. We took this class to meet guys.
Oh, no.
And it's all women. And
We
I'm like,
took
"But
this
that's
class to
like-"
meet guys. There's one dude
the
in there.
opposite.
And I'm
The
like, well, are you
opposite.
single? No, I'm kidding. But, you know, there's a trend with women in woodworking right now. It's wonderful.
That's
Where
funny.
where can somebody
You
take
guys.
that, like in their profession? Like, you know, they go and
Right.
they get certified, and I don't know what that looks like on the back end, but where can they take that professionally?
Well, I will tell you that there's just about no other hobby that can, you could start making money right away.
Yeah.
And I
Like
think
what? What do they make?
this table.
Ooh.
I mean,
Furniture.
If
Fair.
you take my first 6-week class, the basic class, and then you sign up for a table making class, you will walk out with a table like this in another 6 weeks.
Really?
Wow.
And then it comes down to your marketing skills, and that's on you, not her.
You know, my daughter made a step stool
Yeah.
in woodwork shop.
Yeah,
in
woodworking.
School.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. When her dad and I divorced, we fought over that footstool.
Really?
I'm like, I want
Wow.
it. I want
So,
it. I want it.
so one of the things that Jamie had me make, I made 2 of them at the same time. Never done it before. Were 2 walnut rocking chairs for my grandkids.
I forgot
You made
about
rocking chairs?
You mean
Yeah.
Wow.
Rocking chairs for my kid.
Like
for
you
my
made real
grandchildren.
stuff.
Oh yeah,
That's so sweet.
and those things are like those kids love that stuff, and it's
Wow.
really is furniture.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie,
Well,
you
that's
said
keep
it-
forever type
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
Like that's generational.
Yeah, that's cool, yeah.
You keep passing it down.
I want to ask you about. You mentioned like this is a trend now for women, new trend for
Definitely.
women. Why are women other than to meet guys who don't know how
No.
to do
It's like the new online
that was a
dating.
little bit of an
Yeah.
aberration because the women
Okay.
come to the shop and they've got their grubby clothes on. I mean, they are not glamorous at all, but they're kicking ass. Can I say
Really?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can say that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're just killing it in the
Shit,
shop.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, thank you, Brett.
Like okay, so it's just for fun. So
No, but some of my students have started businesses.
Oh, okay, I see.
I'll tell you, I have a student that's back in Ohio that started making, and it's a very niche market, but he makes these banks out of the old post office doors that had combination locks on them.
Oh,
Sure.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, yeah.
And he markets them to bankers. Okay, so
Smart.
he does about 15 craft shows a year. That's it.
Yeah.
And he told me he just bought a Corvette. I mean, come on, like
Dude,
he's selling.
that's like one a month.
These high-end
Yeah.
banks that.
Wow.
But he found a specialty in a market that
Right.
If
yeah.
you find your
Found a
niche,
niche.
in this
Yeah.
market, you can kill it in woodworking.
Yeah.
So is there anything in specific that you enjoy making or more than other things? In other words, we mentioned tables, but what is it that you are somewhat passionate about?
Well, most of my studying taught me that making chairs was the hardest thing, so everybody
Yeah.
discouraged me from making chairs. And once I started making chairs, I thought, these are fabulous. They take a great deal of thought to make them comfortable and safe so that you don't tip over in them or, and I love making dining room chairs. Love making
They're
tables
heck
and desks.
expensive. Chairs are heck expensive.
I need an office chair.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
And
so
it's gotta
here's
be
the-
special.
But here's the
Like,
thing: like
that's the
people
thing.
come to me and they're like, "Hey, can you make a chair?" And I'm like, "I can absolutely make a chair, but it's not going to be $200, and it's not going to be $400, and it may not be $600. So,
ooh,
you
like
know,
how much then?
maybe 8,000.
Wow.
I don't know.
8,000?
Depends.
No,
Yeah.
800.
800.
Don't kill me on that one.
But that's, I
I'm
mean,
just
that's,
saying.
that's
That's a
fair though.
special
I mean, you think about
customized
it.
chair.
You go on Amazon to even just like get a basic chair, and they're charging one, two, and I
Yeah.
know this because I did the
And
research
they're not
earlier.
homemade. Yeah.
And it's you get it in. It's not the color. It's not the thing. It's
It's
crap.
not even comfortable
right?
sometimes.
And then you get something like that. That could be generational,
But-
right?
this
is
Like
high,
the rocking
this is
chairs.
high-end
Yeah.
crafts.
It's
It-
high-end.
it is
Yeah,
high-end.
that's something that you
Pay
would
for what
pass
you get in
on. You
life,
never
you know?
get rid of. That's amazing.
Yep.
That's neat. And you
Really
make
cool.
Let's
I
go
wanna see
build some
pictures.
stuff.
So let's go back to what I want to say about the entrepreneur part because I want to bring this up. So, did you have any challenges going through COVID, right? When everybody shut down, like what did you experience?
Well, I will tell you that, I closed the school immediately, closed
Right.
it, but I had such a backlog of commission work that I had to build that I went to work every day and I was just building and building and building. And
Sure.
I actually really enjoyed it. It was kind of the solitude.
Kind of go at your own pace.
beautiful.
Completely. It
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
It's all choice.
Yeah.
Well-
I mean, I think that
Yeah.
most artists really, we like
You
we're
do.
a little bit of,
Yeah.
Introverts.
we just
A little bit.
You've got
Yeah.
you've got your own world in your head, and
right.
you like
And
to-
you know what?
yeah.
I have a pair of like noise reducing headphones, put them on, crank up something,
Yeah.
and I'm just working away. And the next thing I look at the clock, it's 9:00
Yeah.
at night. And I'm like, wow, where'd the day go?
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Having
Yeah.
fun is where they went.
So
doing
I
what you
I
love.
was fortunate in that on occasion Jamie and we got along really well, and she would come and confide in me. And a couple of times, when you're in these classes, or even when I went to visit her after, and she was holding a class, so she would stand over in the corner, and she's got this piece of wood over there, and she'd just go like this, man. And then she'd say, "That
So
guy,
bad.
that
Insert
guy,
head here.
yeah,
I'm
that guy in the red shirt,
Yeah.
that guy in the red shirt." I go,
Look,
just calm down.
As long as I've been teaching, I've only had to ask a couple of people to not come back.
Oh,
And it does kind of break my
Wow,
heart. to
what
do
did
that.
they do?
You
Try
know,
to
one-
cut their fingers
Try-
off
yeah, I was
3
gonna say,
times.
trying to cut their
Well,
fingers off.
I had a retired doctor who was really a wonderful guy, but by the time he retired and came to me, he had a tremor. And it scared the hell out of me that he would be cutting something, and I'm like, dude.
Hopefully he retired quite a few years before those tremors started.
No, he didn't. And the funny thing too is he also had a really.
Well, she said doctor, not surgeon.
Yeah,
Two
good
different
point.
things. Okay.
Good point.
But here's something funny. He actually had a finger that had been cut and sewn back on, and it was all jacked up.
Upside down?
And I said, what's the deal with that? And he said, I cut it in medical school, and my mentor said, you need to make a decision. You're either going to be a doctor or a woodworker. And he stupidly chose medicine. So, but he came back to it, but he came back a little too late. So that's a little tough.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, if you're going to cut your finger off during med school, then you probably shouldn't be in woodwork.
You shouldn't be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've had,
maybe it was a good decision. I don't know.
You
just
guys
saying.
certainly in all your professions, you've met people that are spacey, right? Like just they can't hold a thought or concentrate. I've had people in the shop that do that, and that to me is really scary.
That might
because
not
you
work
tell
out so
them,
well in that industry, right?
Dude, you send them to the saw and you say, cut this board, and they're like, how do I do that?
Right.
And
You're like, but I just showed you.
right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
a
Gotta
couple-
pay attention.
I've
So-
never met anybody like that.
So how
ever.
is it going now that COVID's kind of on the backside and you...
Well, I will tell you, Rick, I am not often a good judge of this, but for some reason in the fall, I just thought that COVID was going to be bad in January and February. I don't know why, because I'm not often right about the stock market or real estate or anything. But I said,
We'll
I'm going to be
notate that.
closed. So I closed in January and February, and I'm not teaching at all right now. I have a few
okay.
guest teachers teaching for me, but
Right.
I'm stepping
So-
back and building right
Well,
now.
you were right.
You still have a lot of commission work to do.
Oh
then.
man, I'm building some great pieces right now.
That's
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
I saw on YouTube and also on other channels like social media that they kind of illustrate how you create some of these tables, right?
Right.
There was some where it's like you go out and you get wood and then you kind of carve it out. And then I don't know, there was like a solution that you put that like
Resin.
dries. Is
Yeah.
that what it is?
Like an epoxy or
yeah, it's like an
resin,
epoxy.
yeah.
They sell these things for like
Thousands.
$4,000 to $8,000.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
makes sense.
let me give you, though, can we get on to the discussion of social media a little bit?
Yes,
please.
yes.
Okay,
Ooh, I
'cause-
like it.
That's right.
Let's talk about content creators, because I have a grudge against that, because there are a lot of people, like you say, they put up a channel, they're making these tables, and they don't know anything about it. And if you're just signing into a channel and watching, you think you're watching somebody that knows what they're doing.
Expert of their craft.
There's a ton of people out there that are posers, and I think it diminishes everyone's craft when the posers are out there.
Yeah.
Google.
One of the ways,
The Google.
one of the ways to know Jamie's legitimacy is tell us about your Ellen experience.
Ooh, you were on.
You were on Ellen DeGeneres show?
Wait,
Well,
what?
you talking about the Ellen show so she had a furniture competition.
The Ellen?
Yeah.
Like one
Is
of my
there any
favorite.
other
She's
Ellen?
one of my
As
favorites. You guys.
as Rick would say, you know how like Oprah, the big O?
The big O.
The big
When I
Yeah.
say that, that's not what I think.
Yeah. Say maybe in this context you don't want to be using that, Dan.
My age range.
You know,
yeah,
maybe
I don't think
another
about it.
conversation, dude.
Hey, I saw a lot of ears.
Of all the right? How did we just?
What the hell?
A lot of
just
ears
happened?
perked
I'm
up
sorry.
when I
I'm just
said
trying
that.
to talk.
Yeah, I have to leave. I have things
Anyways,
to do.
back to what we were saying. Sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
so Ellen was interviewing people to be on this competition, and a friend of mine called me and said, you should do it. And I went out to dinner with him, and we had some drinks, and then I went home and I applied online, and it was like the equivalent of drunk texting. So,
Really?
so I a little bit drunk applied.
A little bit drunk of life.
And they called me the next day, and they're like,
You're like, did I fill that out?
right. Well, to tell you
Right
the
on,
truth, I was a
man.
little
Some of
concerned
the
about
best
that.
things.
That's the best shit happens that way.
Honestly, you remove the filter.
So they
Yeah.
kept
Just go
paring
for
it down, and they're like, okay, we're down to like 40 people. Now
Yeah.
we're down to 20 people. Now we're down to
Yeah.
16 people. And interestingly enough, you had to like go and live in Los Angeles. I think it was for two months.
Yeah.
2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And when I called UNLV and said, hey, I might need to take these 2 months off, they're like, okay, you're gone. We're not even going to put your classes on the schedule. So it was kind of a tough decision to do that.
Yeah.
But I got down to like maybe the last 12 people, and then I wasn't chosen. And I
that's
think that it was
awesome.
kind of a blessing in disguise,
Yeah.
because when I watched the show, it was very cutthroat.
Wow.
And I don't have that in me.
Yeah.
I can't like.
Yeah,
elbow.
and they,
What did you make?
That-
What did
that's-
you
It's
make
always
for the
interesting
show?
though.
Well, they made. I mean, they would have a challenge. Like you have to make a
Oh.
dining room
dude,
table.
that's where their editors come into play. Their editors
Yeah,
set that up too.
They make it look
you know.
a certain way
Yeah.
versus what
so
reality
basically,
is.
what you're saying is that over the time period that you were there, you had to make several different types of
Every
things.
week you had a challenge. So it
and
was
do
like
something.
maybe a 6 or 8, 10 week
Yeah,
challenge.
yeah.
And I take a little bit more time on my design, so I couldn't design something within 2 hours and go and have.
So who are
This is something that the listeners actually need to know about. You interviewed with, almost hired a designer or someone of that
An
effect,
architect, right, architect,
and tell the viewers how that worked, because we've had other builders online, and your experience was totally the opposite of what they were portraying. So it's interesting to get an actual.
So I have some friends that just had remodeled their home, and they gave me the name of a gentleman that might act as a overseer for it. So he gave me the name of an architect. The architect came out to my house and said, I kind of see the vision that you see in this house, and I have a half-acre lot. A massive indoor pool up on my property. My indoor pool is twice the size of my house, of my living area.
Right.
So I've got a 3,500 square foot pool.
damn keg party at your house this
We're
Keg
going
party at her
to
house this
that.
I
weekend.
tell you this, and I
Okay.
know this is really
Oh,
off
I mean,
topic, but
Wow.
someone told me that if I rented the pool out for porn making, that I'd kill in the
Dude, for
market.
sure.
Would,
I
you
mean,
would.
I think that would work.
Multiple streams of income is important.
Absolutely.
So-
You gotta drain that puppy.
It's like chlorine. So,
No,
no,
just
you still have to
chlorinating.
Wait,
Like nudity?
wait.
That's
really
what porn
off
would
topic, though.
involve.
Sorry.
I'm curious what Corinne meant
I'm
by,
sorry
by
that you don't
drain
Not too
experience
familiar with it. Nothing about that.
What are you talking about, drain that puppy?
Corinne's always got her mind thinking that's what it is. Corinne, can you
No.
explain
Corinne
yourself?
Corinne knows.
Corinne, can you explain that?
Corinne, please,
This
please
has to do
explain.
with
Drain the pool. I don't even like to go swimming
Corinne?
in the gym after
Corinne?
Brett. I don't like.
This
to
is
go
us we're
swimming
talking
after-
about. You can be honest.
I just I'm like.
Oh, this is fun. The truth comes out.
But anyway, so the architect, we had sort of discussed it, and he said, look, I charge this much for a design fee, and I said, okay, so I'm going to get some blueprints out of that. And he said, send me some pictures of homes that you like, the exterior. We went through that, and then he said, okay, before we go much further, we need to do a contract. So when I went to do the contract, I realized that his fee didn't include blueprints. It was just the design fee. And I'm like, well, that seems a little bit open-ended for me.
How much? So how much were the blueprints going to be
So it was about $4 a square foot.
for the blueprint?
No, for the
Oh,
design.
okay.
I'm
For
sorry.
the design
But he
without
said
the blueprint.
the blueprint, that's without it. So it was
Yeah.
going to be 10,000 just for a house design. And I'm like, but what are the blueprints going to be? Like, that seems
Wow.
really.
That's-
it was an extra.
Well, he
thing?
was going to do it, but it was an extra. And I was like, but give me a price. I mean, tell me it's $8 a square foot, but give me a
Something.
finite price.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I can't do that because we don't know, what kind of plans you're going to need, what kind of mechanicals, all of that.
Then why would you give money?
Why would
If
I?
you can't do
Yeah,
that, that should be a
it's
part of it. That
So
should be
Yeah.
I was
a
right
part of
back
the contract.
to square one.
Are you confident moving forward? Like you have no issues moving forward with your job?
Well, I with the exception of Rick, I think I'm older than everybody else in this room, and I do see an.
I don't know
end-
because Rick's middle aged, so
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm right behind him. I'm right there, buddy.
Rick was telling us about the Civil War last week.
Yours has a full head of hair.
I mean, I see an
You know I
end
love
to
you,
my
Rick.
teaching
That's okay.
career. My with COVID and with the way people are about masks and vaccines and everything, which is a whole other discussion. But I don't want to keep teaching forever. I don't. And unfortunately, I have a list on my computer that's just a mile long.
Yeah.
People that say, put me on a list as soon as you offer classes. I want to take a class. I don't see myself doing it.
Jamie's business is not going to stop, and the reason being is because, as you can see, Jamie's personality.
She's awesome.
She is awesome, and it's the same way in class.
I say it like it is, Rick.
Yeah, she does say it like it is, but it's just she's a freaking magnet. I'm telling you.
yeah.
Her
I
personality.
just want to bring up the fact that
I have stories.
the rental
I got
market
stories.
in December. So I did a little bit of research on just December. The median price for rents leased out was $1,875. All right.
Is that apartment or home?
Single family residence. Okay. And then you're looking at the average price of units leased was $2,053. So there's not much fluctuation from
No.
we talked about this 3 months ago for the $1,800 month roughly to where it is today, correct?
Well, it went from 17 to whatever you just said, 1875.
1875.
And then the other figure I reported on Saturday was basically 2,100. And you said it's 2,083. So
Yes.
Yeah. So the statistics that I pulled up and what you pulled up are basically exactly the same.
So if you're looking out there and you're a landlord, right? Is there any restrictions going on with landlords as far as we know that we had the moratorium, all these things going on? Is all of those things cleared at this point? Because I think a lot of people tune into the show, but they don't really know, has those things expired at this point, or is it federal still kind of keeping that in place?
Federal still keeping that in place. State still keeping that in place. It again, as I've reported in the past, if your tenant has applied for a federal or state program, they're still off limits.
Really?
But it's such a small percentage. Most everybody has moved on, and one of the things that Dan touched on Saturday was the number, and Brett, the number of people that are in the market, and the fact that everybody's got a "we're hiring" sign. Just in November, 4.5 million people left their jobs, which was 3%. In other words, they didn't get fired, they left.
Yeah.
And about 40%, 4 out of 10 workers said they'd look for a new job if their employer makes them come into the office 5 days a week. So,
I got
So if you're looking for employment right now, with the statistics, if you're looking for employment right now, for every person that's looking for employment, there's a job and a half for them out there. 1.5
That's
jobs for every
insane.
person.
yeah.
It's been almost 2 years. Talking about
And that's what I'm
changing
saying
our
is, so
society.
if people now 2 years into it are still quitting, they're bringing in money some shape somehow somewhere else.
There are currently over 10 million job openings, and just on the people that are unemployed, there's only 6 million unemployed.
So where's
I mean,
everybody getting their new money?
I don't know about where they're getting their new
That's
money,
the
but
thing.
the point is,
You know
that
what?
they're not trying to fill those jobs.
Yeah, I know.
I want to say one last thing, Rick, and you can just answer this
Heard
really
it through the
quick.
grapevine.
I was watching something where in Los Angeles they had a tenant, right, totally wrecked the house. Mold was growing in the house, and they had to demolish it. Like, what happens in that situation? Does the tenant have to pay for it? Because I'm just curious. Like, let's say you go in and you just completely have issues with the house and you leave it in terrible shape. Like, how does that work for getting that money back for a landlord?
You take the tenant out into the middle of the desert.
First of all, the tenant isn't going to be on the hook. All right,
They're not going to
Really?
be on the hook.
They're not. Well, prove that they did it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So you may have a bunch of mold problems in there that have to be demolished.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is that the owner's insurance is going to step up.
Yeah.
So that's basically where most of the money is going to come in. If it's something that's on a much smaller scale, let's just say there's $10,000 worth of damage and you have a $2,000 deposit. That means you have to go to small claims and you got to chase them down
For the other 8?
For the other 8.
You're not going to get it.
You're not
Right, it's not worth the money.
And here in Vegas, odds are really high you're not going to get it. But if you were someplace else in the country, like the Midwest, where, fortunately, people are more stand-up-ish and they don't move from job to job as much, you're going to know where they're at. They're smaller communities, so the odds of you getting
you won't get away with it in the Midwest.
some sort of money back is much higher in the Midwest than it is in the coast and the larger cities, because people can vanish.
Big and
How do you
strong.
think
Big and strong.
that the current employment situation is going to impact how quickly it continues to get back to normal? Because let's think about this. If people fly in and they got to wait half an hour to frickin' find a cab, they can't get into a restaurant because they don't have the people to serve them.
Exactly.
They don't have all
Right.
of these things happening. They're like, dude, I know we're here, but I'm not going back to Vegas. I mean, that sucked.
I don't think that'll happen.
No.
He has a good point. CES had 75%
Well,
roughly
I
people
get that,
cancel because they're worried about Omicron. And look, if there's no employment,
Sure.
we just talked about it last Saturday that I went to a place I typically eat, Teriyaki Boy, right?
Yeah.
And there was nobody there. And they said, hey, guess what? We don't have any workers, you know?
Yeah.
And then the person had to come outside and they had to deliver the food by handing it to me because they only had one cook and he was also the cashier. He was also the CEO. I mean,
that's the same
He's also
thing.
the CEO.
That's the same thing that the wife and
Also
I
the
have
accountant.
have been running into for weeks. We go to our favorite places. Now it's not on the strip, but we run into the same thing where there's like 2 waitresses in the entire place, and who knows?
Man,
if there's anybody
I'm just ready to
thank you guys so,
So
much.
sorry.
All right.
Great show. I appreciate everybody out
Go
there.
blockchain.
If you guys, what's
Hey,
that?
have Jamie say how to get
Yeah,
hold of
Jamie,
her.
go ahead and tell us how somebody can get a hold of you.
You can go on woodworkingclassesinlasvegas.com and find my schedule, get information about the school. You can go to whatitis.com and see my furniture and call me about a piece of furniture that you need made.
What it is?
What it is.
What it
What
is.
about
What it is.
Are you on social media?
I am. What it is
We
has
just
an
started
Instagram
following
page.
her. So
Oh, you did?
What it is.
What's your handle?
What it is.
What it is? I like
All you got to
it.
know
There's
is
so much
what it
wood.
is.
What it is, what it is.
Wood.
What it is, brah.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We'll be back here on Saturday. I want to say please subscribe to the channel. Also, comment, make the comments in the comment section. If you guys want to get a hold of Jamie, we're going to have her contact information in there. We need to get to 1,000. Support the channel. We need help.